Today we are going to start with the third module, module number 3, Advanced Database Management Techniques. This is the last module which I am going to cover. Already 5 modules we have already completed. Now this is the last module, and this particular module is related to the data security. Previously in the old syllabus, what I can say, there was a special chapter for data security where the access control protocols and data security was there were two chapters. Specially data security was one chapter, and one was the access controls. Now these two chapters are being combined in this syllabus whichever you are studying. And for this kind of, what I can say, before starting with the access control protocols which are given in your syllabus, I'll start with the data security, right? So first of all, I'll give you an overall introduction of the data security, what actually a data security means, because it is completely different from whatever you are studying in the security. That cyber security and computer security is the another issue that we are not talking about. We are not going to touch it, right? Because this data security means database security we are talking about. We are not talking about uh, the cyber security or internet security, right? Those things we are not going to talk about. We are going to talk about the database security, because whatever we are studying, that is related to the database only. Okay, now first of all, before starting with the actual access control, first of all let me give you an overview of what do you mean by data security and why we require a security. First of all, why there is a need of data security, that we'll speak about. And then in the coming lectures, I will be focusing on the access control protocols, right? So now here the database security is the most crucial aspects of the data storage, because in the data storage we will be requiring a database security, because without security everything will get compromised, right? Because whenever uh, not only the data is stored in the database, but also we need to protect the data from the unauthorized access as well as from the authorized access. Now you will say, how sir, if we need to protect the data from the unauthorized access, it's okay, but why to protect the data from the authorized access, right? We need to protect the data from the authorized access as well as unauthorized access, right? Now why we need to protect the data from the authorized access also, that we are going to speak about, right? Now many organizations, many companies face these challenges of securing the data, and which is more valuable, because data is everything nowadays. Because if once the data is will get compromised, then the whole scenario changes. The primary issue of the data security is related to the database access control measures. Now here you can see access control is coming into the picture. The primary issue of the data security is that we need to uh, it is related to the data access control measures for protecting for protecting the data against an authorized access as well as the unauthorized users. Means from the authorized users also I need to protect the data. From unauthorized users, it will be definitely there that I need to protect the data, but from authorized users also I need to protect the data. So for access control is broadly classified into three categories. Now this access control is broadly classified into three types. First one is a mandatory access control protocol. First one is a mandatory access control protocol, and the mandatory access control. Second one is the discretionary access control, and the last one is nothing but the role based access control. Role based access control protocol. So these are the three protocols we are going to study. Just I am giving you an overview for in the today's lectures, because from the next lecture onwards we'll be speaking in detail about these all these three types: MAC, DAC, and RBAC. MAC, DAC, and RBAC. The MAC is nothing but the mandatory access control. Then DAC is nothing but the discretionary access control, and the last one is nothing but the role based access control. according to role the access will be given. So we are going to speak about this in the coming lecture in great detail. Now there are many measures there are many measures to be taken for the statistical databases which allow only those queries to be run, and the return and the what I can say, the answer will get aggregated, and that aggregated information will be returned. For that there is a flow control mechanism, and that flow control mechanism is like the access control, right? Now, so there are certain, what I can say, you can see here, actually whatever the diagram in the background you can see, there are certain security risks are there that we need to talk about, right? So these risks are there, and these risks we need to mitigate by using the access control protocols. Okay, so we'll discuss one by one. These are the security risks are there which are there, the security risks are there that we need to mitigate or that we need to minimize by using the access control mechanism. So these many types of these many types of security risks are there. The We'll start one by one. First of all I will read it out. Excessive privilege abuse, then the next one is the legitimate privilege abuse, then privilege elevation, then database platform the vulnerabilities, SQL injection, weak audit trail, denial of service, data communication protocol vulnerabilities, weak authentication, and backup data exposure. So we are going to see all these terms in detail. Just I have read it out. Now we'll start with the excessive privilege abuse. So what do you mean by this excessive privilege abuse? This is the first type of, and the foremost the data security risk, right? Even though what actually it is, even though the authorized users are allowed to access the data, sometimes they may also misuse the access privileges, right? Now this excessive privilege abuse is related to the authorized users, because authorized users will be already given, what I can say, they will be already granted some types of privileges. Now they might use those privileges for, what I can say, for bad things, right? For example, a database administrator of the university who is provided with the access to the entire database of the university can change the information of the student or can modify their marks, right? And it will lead to the grades which are whatever the grades they will get, they will be they will get misuse, right? So this is the what I can say, one of the example of the excessive privilege abuse, because the example I have given here is the database administrator, because the database administrator will have the access of all the databases. The database administrator will have the access of all the database. Now if he is having all the database and he suppose he is compromised, means he can use that particular rights or access control for the bad things. He can change the grades of the students, right? And in that way it will lead to an excessive privilege abuse, right? Now this can be prevented by some extent by granting the equal access rights to the all database users up to some level. What I'm trying to tell you, see, this can be prevented by some extent, not fully, because the if all the rights are given to the database administrator, then nothing can be done, but up to some extent we can protect by granting equal rights to by granting all the what I can say, all the users the equal access right up to some level. Then the next one is the legitimate privilege abuse. The next one is the legitimate privilege abuse. What is this? Now this legitimate privilege abuse is obtained by the database users or managers or the system administrators, which can be abused if they are involved in some of the unlawful or unethical activities. For example, they can misuse the sensitive data by using the privileges in an unadjusted manner. Mean to say as the name itself suggests, legitimate privilege users means what? The users like normal users or managers or the system administrators can use their access controls or their access control rights for for misusing the sensitive data of the organization. Then the next one is the privilege elevation. So what this privilege elevation means? It means assigning the administrative privileges to an ordinary users, the normal users, the ordinary users, whatever the privileges, whatever the privileges the are having, those privileges will be assigned to the normal ordinary users by administrator, and this type of excessive exposure may lead to the various kinds of flaws in the system, right? This may help unauthorized users to access and make undesirable changes in the system, right? What do you mean by privilege elevation? As the name itself suggests, if you are concentrating on the heading, privilege elevation means what? If I am making the normal users, suppose an example I am giving, if I am making the ordinary users as a database administrator, so what he can do? Now he can do anything, right? Because it will lead to an unauthorized users to access and make undesirable changes, right? Like like creating the bogus accounts, the false registration, or the false transfer of the funds, or misusing the sensitive and analytical information, right? So these kind of scenarios will be there. That is called as privilege elevation. The next one is the database platform vulnerabilities. The database platform vulnerabilities, what actually it is? See, now this database platform vulnerabilities is actually related to the operating system, because the previous, the older, what I can say, the older or earlier versions of the operating system was subjected to certain kind of vulnerabilities, which will lead to the loss of the data or the corruption of the data in case of the denial of the service. Now, what do you mean by denial of the service? That will also come into the picture. But the database platform vulnerabilities means what? I will give you an example. In Windows 2000, the operating system Windows 2000 was having the blaster worm, which can create the condition for the denial of service. Now, what do you mean by denial of service? I will speak in minute. Okay, but in Windows 2000, later on it has been modified. Then Windows Vista has came. Then what I can say, XPS came. After Windows 2000, XPS came, then Vistas came, then 7 came, then 8 came, and 10 came, right? So then in Windows 2000 there was a vulnerability that was lead to a blaster worm to create the condition of the denial of the service. Okay, then the next one is SQL injection. As the name, you might have already heard about this. What do you mean by SQL injection? So SQL injection is an attack in which the attacker tries to execute some SQL queries at a random type in a random way for gaining an unobstructed rights on the entire database. What do you mean by SQL injection? If I want to define formally, it is an attack in which the attacker tries to execute some SQL queries at the random fashion for getting the unauthorized or unobstructed writes on the entire database. That is called as the SQL injection. But nowadays, whatever the sites or whatever the apps are being created, there generally the actual, what I can say, access controls are provided, because of which this SQL injection attack directly get failed. Right then. So this is all about, what I can say, the SQL injection. as the name itself, the number of what I can say SQL queries will be fired in a random random fashion for getting the unobstructed writes on the entire database, that is actually the SQL injection. Now in this case, in the SQL injection, the attacker appends the string identifier at the end of the SQL queries, and then they are executed on the server. What the attacker do? The attacker appends the string identifier at the end of the SQL queries, and then they are executed. For example, the normal in the normal case, case, if I am doing 0 or 0, means what? 0 or 0, the condition will be true, or if I am doing 0 or 1, the condition will be true, or if I am doing 1 or 0, the condition will be true. Now what do you mean by this 1 or 0? Because any condition, if it will get evaluated, it will get converted into tokens. So finally, for example, if I am writing 10 is greater than 8, what will be the actual answer which your compiler takes? If I am executing this, if 8 is greater than 10, so condition will be false, means the answer will be 0, right? Or if I am taking 10 greater than 8, so your compiler takes it as 1, because it is true. 10 is greater than 8, yes, condition true. True means what? 1. So your compiler takes it as 1. So likewise, the attacker appends such kind of string at the end of the SQL queries, and then they are getting executed on the server side. Now and on the server side, the server validates all these strings, right? On the server side, the server validate all these strings, and if it get validated like this, just now I have told you, then the attacker will get the writes on the entire database, and he can, what I can say, flush you out. Number of times it happens. Then see, for any reason, if the string is not get validated, then the queries may get executed, because you previously, when this SQL injection attack was new, at that time there was no validation on the server side. So if that was the case, if that is the case, then the queries will get executed automatically. But nowadays it is not the case. Already whatever the servers which are getting built, they are taking the they are taking proper things to mitigate, or to what I can say, to validate all the strings which are getting evaluated on the server side. Okay, then we are having weak audit trail. What do you mean by weak audit trail? A weak database audit policy may be a serious threat to us, to the security of the of any organization, or to the any database. Now what do you mean by this weak audit trail? The audit policy is an important consideration for the database security. It ensures that the database transaction is recorded properly, timely, and automatically. If suppose all sensitive database transactions are recorded automatically and are governed by the audit policy, right, which must be strong, so that the security risk will get minimized. So that is the weak audit trail. Then we are having, you can see, the denial of service. So what do you mean by denial of service? Whatever the service we are asking, suppose if you are using a Gmail, then Gmail is also a service which Google provide by its parent company Alphabet, right? So this, whenever we are putting the email ID on the email, on the box which is provided, and your password, and then you are hitting enter or submit, right? If that response gets submitted on the Google server, then you will be getting a Gmail page, means whatever the mail you have sent, whatever the mail you have received on the inbox, then there are number of, what I can say, tabs are there where you can see the mail related information, right? But suppose anyhow, in on Google server, if there is a denial of service attack, what will happen? Even though you are submitting your email ID and password, but you will not be getting, what I can say, your page, your mail page, means inbox, sent messages, drafts, whatever the page you are supposed to get, that you will not get. So that is called as the denial of service. Okay. So this denial of service attack is a very serious security threat for an organization's database, any organization's database. It will prevent an authorized users. Again, I am saying it prevents an authorized users. Unauthorized. I am not saying unauthorized users. I am saying authorized users from using or accessing a particular program, application, or data. I'll read it one more time. A denial of service attack is a serious security threat for an organization's database. It prevents it prevents authorized users from using or accessing a particular program, application, or data. There are different types to launch the denial of service attack. For example, resource overloading, network flooding, or data corruption. Right? Network overloading, network flooding, or data corruption. I will take one example. What do you mean by network flooding? Number of times on the number of sites you will be able to see captcha code. What that captcha is? That captcha is provided that it will identify you a human being, right? Because if a bot is there and if he'll be able to execute number of queries in a fraction of seconds, he'll be able to fire number of queries on the fraction of second. So what will happen? The network will get flooded. So the normal user will not get the chance to access those pages, to access those applications, to access any kind of data, right? So the network will be completely flooded by the unauthorized traffic. So the normal user will not get the chance to execute, right? That is actually the denial of service. Now in this case the attacker may also be able to launch a denial of service attack by getting the access to the database and then try to crash the server, right? Just that's why I have given you an example of the normal bot. If a bot has been designed, he can execute number of queries in a fraction of seconds, which will crash any server. So if this denial of service attack will be there, then there is a chance of crashing the server. Okay. Then we are having the database communication protocol vulnerabilities. These database communication protocol vulnerabilities are, now see, these communication protocols are prone to various kind of security attacks because these vulnerabilities that aren't addressed properly by the database retailers, and these suspectables lead to certain activities that may be harmful for an organization's data. So these database communication protocol vulnerabilities, now it is, you see, this particular part is related to what I can say a cyber security part, because there is a terminology that is called as communication. If the communication comes into picture, it will be if the communication comes into picture, we will be requiring what I can say network comes into picture, and if network comes into picture, the cyber security comes into picture. That's why whatever the communication protocols are to be designed, these sorry, these protocols must be must not be vulnerable to any kind of attack. Then the second last is the weak authentication process. Now what do you mean by weak authentication? If the database authentication mechanism is not strong, then it makes the database vulnerable by the security attacks, and a weak strategy for the authentication may help a malicious person for obtaining the identity of the database users and stealing the login credentials, like phishing attacks. You know already what do you mean by phishing. If you people are using the online banking of the SBI, then you will see there they are directly showing what do you mean by phishing attacks, and they are giving the instruction clearly. Number of times you will see the ads on TV also. So what do you mean by phishing, right? You will be able to see the website For example, if you people are using Facebook, so you if a phishing attack will be there, you will be able to see that you will be able to see the same page, but the URL will be different, right? So whenever you will be using any social media on the websites, any banking applications on the websites, or then identify the URL, because the URL for every what I can say, for any application the URL will be different. Example is that if I am using the online banking of SBI, then the URL for the online banking is onlinesbi.com, right? If you are using IRCTC, then irctc.co.in. So these URL are there. If you are using Google, google.com, suppose you are making mistake here, if you are writing googlee.com, right? And you are able to see, I am giving you an example, it is not true actually. You are able to see that you will be getting the same page as Google, but it is not the google.com, right? It will be certain, it will be a different page, and if once you are logging into that particular page, you will be directed into some other what I can say, you will be either you will be thrown out, or you will be directed to the other page, and whatever the username and password you have put into, that will get steal, right? That is called as the weak authentication system. Okay, then the last one, that is the backup data exposure. So this exposure while backing up the data is another concern for the data security of any organization's database. All kinds of backups are maintained on the secondary disks, either or on the tapes or on the external media. So there is a high probability for these resources to be destroyed or stolen by the malicious individuals. Therefore, it is required to protect this backup from the theft. Okay, so these are the types of, what I can say, these many things are there that we need to take into consideration whenever we are designing, whenever we are talking about the access protocol. So whenever we are talking about the access protocol, these many scenarios we need to take into consideration. Okay.